welcome back. We're on episode 13 now of the hCG diet interviews, and I have Karma with me today. She's lost 80 pounds, over 80 pounds with the hCG protocol, and she has a great story because she's got a lot of neat things to share when it comes to changing your way of eating and making it interesting. And I actually had a great time talking with her because she's really gotten into that aspect of things, and so hopefully it'll help you guys, get some ideas on how to make this drastic change in our way of eating a long-term one that you can enjoy and not have to look back. So welcome, Karma.
Thank you.
So I actually already told them how much weight you lost, but how about you tell us how your size has changed and where did you start? What weight did you start at? Where did you end?
Sure. Well, technically, I've lost 90 pounds, but I maintained an 80-pound loss. In 2000, I was going over my notes. 2009, I had gotten up to 247. That was the last number I'd seen on the scales. And so I'd done a little protocol that we had at my work, and I lost 20 pounds and then went on a cruise with my husband. And then over the course of the next couple of months, just went back to eating the way I had been eating. The holidays came, and I found about 12 pounds of that back.
Gotcha.
And so when I started the hCG protocol after some research with another one of our patients, actually, I started April of 2010 at 235.
Okay.
And that was a very size 18-20, very tight 20.
Okay.
And I'm a little smaller on the top than I am on the bottom, so I always was in kind of two sizes. I'm right now into a very comfortable 12.
Cool.
And occasionally, if I get a larger 10, I can wear a 10, and I'll even wear it in public. I used to say I will wear it in the dressing room, but I wouldn't come out in public. But now I have a 10 that I can wear out in public.
Cool. So you can go around showing people, look, it's a 10.
And they're like, oh, really? So who cares? I do.
I do. Cool. Awesome.
So when I first started even dreaming if I could get, that when I first started, I'm thinking, okay, I was just barely over 50. If I could have just got back, my goal and my initial one goal was 175 and a size 12.
Wow.
Well, I've maintained over the course of the last year and a half 165, give or take, and my 12. And so sometimes when I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong? I go back, and we'll talk about that later in my journal. It just reminds me where I've been and where I am.
So tell me a little bit about what factors made losing and maintaining weight difficult. What kind of things that make it a struggle, do you think?
Life.
Right.
Sometimes life, sometimes convenience. Sometimes it was just easier to come home and eat the way I was raised. And at that time we had pretty much staple foods, corn, potatoes, some meats. Not a lot of box things back at those days, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it just became you get kind of settled in your ways of going to those old. My husband loves pasta, so pasta was almost an every night thing.
Yeah.
And I just realized that after I started to do the protocol, and we basically cleaned up our diet and detox, so to speak, from all of those things, including my husband. He was always very open to helping me. He would eat everything that I ate. I always just made more for him. So,
cool.
I think the hCG protocol is a healthy protocol. There's just not a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I've learned so many, it's been fun to go back and realize all the things that I've learned food-wise of foods I've never eaten. I've never had a Brussels sprout. The Brussels sprouts I had were boiled.
Yeah.
Bush, and now we've discovered just wonderful kale. Never heard of kale. All of these things that are now come to superfoods that we are now introducing into our life.
Cool.
As I shared with you, my husband's dealing, hopefully he's through it, with some prostate cancer. So these things are all really important for me to be doing anyway. And then with grandbabies coming here, grandma wants to make sure that the foods that at least at grandma's house are healthy. And this grandma's not one you're going to get cakes and cookies that are made the old-fashioned way. So I'm learning new ways, wonderful sites that I have found to help me, because at the end of the day, Rachel, it has to taste good.
Right. Yeah.
That's why we eat. I mean, we eat for nourishment, but it has to taste good, and that's why we keep going back to those things that taste good.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I was thinking what you were saying about Brussels sprouts. Even though I had them at times growing up, they always tasted bitter. Like, so it has to do with the way they're grown, the way they're prepared. Yeah, so there was a lot of foods that I thought too that I didn't like, ew, those taste so gross. They're so bitter. Same thing with kale. Then later, I realized it has to do with the way it's grown, and then even the way you prepare it. And then it was like, wow, and now I love them, you know? So it's true. And you can turn your mind off to things because of your perception before.
Exactly.
And then thankfully with the internet, you're like, oh,
Oh,
wait a minute, it doesn't have to be like
you
that.
know, totally. And since, even since I started in 2010, the internet has become such a bigger part of really how I cook, what I use, the sites I go to. I mean, I read cookbooks like people read novels. I
Yeah.
love cookbooks. And I tell you, there are so many amazing cookbooks and amazing people out there that I just feel like it's a whole nother world. I'm not obsessed with them, but because we eat 3 times a day and sometimes more than that.
Right.
And so it's got to taste good and it's got to be quick and easy.
Yeah.
Because just like you, life is busy.
Yeah.
Busy, busy, busy.
Right. I know, and that's great. And I'm excited to ask you about some of your favorite things in that way, because that is one of the number one difficulties for people to make that change, like you said, is good needs to be good and easy, like you said. There's just two elements, and it's like if it's missing one, it's hard to make it a lifelong habit, you know. So
Exactly.
yeah. I wanted to ask you, when we were talking before, you mentioned a trip that you went on, and it was challenging because you didn't have control over the food that you were given and all that. I wanted you to tell that story, what you learned from it, all of that.
Sure. In July of last year, we went on a missions trip with our church. My husband and I led a group up to Junction, Alaska, and had a great time. I was one of 2 gals that had gone. We went as cooks, so to speak, but I didn't get any choice in what we cooked. And the gal that one of the missionary's wife, she was an amazing Southern gal cooking. So you know what we ate. And she always made sure the guys had a full-blown breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
And remembering about that too is how much desserts we ate. Holy moly, I did not realize that we had a dessert. There was something sweet every time. And I discovered, just side note, sugars are really bad for me. They're such a trigger. So, and I wasn't quite as aware of my food sensitivities at that time as I am now even. And so I felt going on this trip that I didn't want to take with my scale because I didn't know what the situation was going to be. So I just thought, well, I'm going to eat well as I can. And the foods, of course, were delicious. And my first couple of days were okay. I shared with the gal, how I was eating, just basically telling my story as women do when we're cooking in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And part of me, sometimes I'm thinking, okay, am I going to make her feel guilty what she's cooking? Because sometimes I think people can take it the wrong way.
Right.
And so I'm trying to learn, do they want to know? Because if they don't want to know, I don't want to share. Because really, then they'll take a look at it as more negative.
Right.
But again, we were looking at fried this, which, I still fry a lot, but I fry in coconut oil and some other alternative oils. And the delicious fried potatoes, spaghettis, pastas, salads, we're talking all sorts of and desserts.
All the good stuff.
And cakes and all of these things. And of course, bread. And okay, I started with one little bite. I can have one little bite. Well, 2 bites is not going to matter. And probably by at least day 4, it is what it is. And I just gave in. And so when I came home, right before I'd gone there, I just had finished my last protocol, gone through P3 and really had stabilized what I thought. And I got down to my lowest weight of 155 at 54 years old. And no, I guess I'm 55, at 55. And never in my wildest dreams I'd ever believe I could weigh 155. And
yeah, that's 20 pounds below your original goal.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. And so I could tell I had probably put on water weight. Of course, traveling, you do that anyway. And so I'm thinking, you're trying to justify, it's just airplane water weight.
Right.
No, it wasn't. It was, I put on a good 10 pounds back.
Okay.
And so I thought, okay, I know I was going to do that. So I just went in and did a correction that week. And for me, what my correction is I ate pretty much high protein, and Miracle Skinny Drops is a site that has helped me pretty much throughout my whole protocol. I discovered them in 2011. And I even Googled back and forth and talked with the gals. And so I would go to their sites, and one of their sites was the egg day. So
Cool.
I would do my egg day, increase my water, and eat clean, no eating greens and vegetables, more vegetables,
Okay.
not usually much fruit, and cutting out most of my dairy and increasing my water, of course.
Okay.
And I dropped those 5 pounds. I dropped 5 of those 10 pounds, and I've never been back into the 150s since
Gotcha.
then.
Cool. But you did
I
get
did
those
another
5 off.
protocol, and I still just keep it float right back up to this 164, 166. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So, because I was thinking there's that idea where, like you were saying, we tend to think like, oh, I think I could probably have a little bit of this, and then so basically it's kind of like you realize after you eat it that you want to keep eating it, and then it's hard to stop. So is that kind of basically what happened?
I was shocked truly how addictive they are, because it just seems like I just had purged my body of all of that.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm looking at things differently now than I even did then.
Right.
That, if you say yes to that, you're going to probably have another week of having to get that stuff out of your body.
Right.
And it's just easier not to put it back in. So,
right. That's true. Yeah.
yeah.
That was a good story. I liked that. I wanted to know if you could share your story about the scale, how you said it's a tool for you, and you kind of have a little story about that. People have different viewpoints on the scale, and I totally respect that because we're all different. But share how it's been for you.
Well, as I told you, I have a pretty much every weight that I daily weigh, and it's really helped me. Again, in the wonderful resources that I have discovered. Robin Woodall had a book, and of course, in my menopausal brain, I can't remember what the name of it is, but I know you know it.
Oh, the weight loss apocalypse one?
Yeah, there we go.
What's not a word we say all the time?
It's just a tool. It's just a tool. And so I'm like, yes, it is just a tool. And so I get on it, and I try not to, I just take the information for what it is. I write it down. And
Oh, one second.
it helps me.
Hey, honey,
and I
hey,
used
Nolan.
to do that even before.
Sorry, he's playing the
way
piano.
back in
Hey,
my early
Nolan.
20s, I used to weigh every day.
I
It was
can
always
hear the
my
piano.
gauge.
Sorry, babe.
I couldn't go in my pants.
In a little while, it'll be
10,
fine.
15 pounds heavier,
Right.
and still get in the same size of pants. I mean, you're not
Okay,
really
sorry.
realizing
Continue.
I'm really gaining weight. Can't do that too
Right.
often. My scales is telling me.
You're like, wait, where was I?
I'm at 4
Okay, so
pounds.
scale,
Okay,
you
I
can
need
gain 10 to
note of that
15
as well.
pounds.
Right. So I just use my scale as a tool, as a gauge. It doesn't set my day. It just helps me. Okay, today I better be a lot more mindful. And
Gotcha.
it's just makes me more aware of what's going on in my body. In January of in 2013, I did the plan, and it made me more aware of foods. Again, she says what we've eaten the night before, the day before, is just going to be reflected on the scale, and it's just a reflection. It is not who we are. That scale doesn't say, okay, Carma, you're good, bad. It just says, okay, this is what
this
you
food
did
does to
yesterday.
you, or
Yes.
yeah.
And it also helps you're saying, okay, I suspected that food was causing an issue.
Yeah.
The scales now prove it, but you already knew it, but it just is kind of confirming it.
Yeah, and that helps you to kind of actually choose, like, okay, I'm going to not eat this too often, or
exactly.
Whereas if you're not sure, you're like, I don't really know, so I'm going to go ahead and eat it, or
well, and so much now, Rachel, is truly experimenting. We can go along life and go and do what we had always done and be right back where we were. Or we can be mindful of what we're doing today, and make good choices today. And sometimes we're going to say, depending upon us women, we're so cyclical. And so I want something salty. Well, now what I'm learning is, okay, when I want those salty, crunchy things, what can I go to that can satisfy that? Because we're still going to be eating, and we're still going to be having the same cravings that we do, but I'm just learning how to choose alternative things, other things that can meet those needs that I have.
good.
And sometimes they're wants, I just want that.
Yeah.
And now I've got some wonderful ones that are go-to foods that are good.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's so good. That's such a great way to look at it, instead of like, maybe feeling like, oh, I have, like you said, this salty craving or this sweet craving, and I feel bad that I have that, and I just need to not eat anything like that. Instead of thinking that, you're thinking, oh, how can I feel that in a healthy way? So that's great.
If we don't, we go and keep eating until that
Right.
craving gets satisfied. side.
Right.
And even like 2 nights ago, I made these bacon burgers that were, oh my gosh, my husband goes, those are a keeper, Carma.
Four
It was,
stars.
oh, I do, and as I'll share with you later. I've got my little recipe cookbook that I am making for me, that I handwrite things that are keepers, and things that particularly my husband likes as well, because he's gotten some things he's like, oh, let's not do that one again. And he never says that was awful, but and usually I have a pretty good taster, hence why I weigh so much. Because I know what tastes good.
Yeah.
And so if it doesn't taste good, we won't do it again.
Yeah. I wanted to know if you could share a little bit. You said you were doing the plan. I don't know. I was wondering, could you talk about that a little? What that is? What it's.
Yes. The plan was harder than hCG.
Okay.
And it was way more focused on food. So I think, and this is just my opinion, I don't want to talk negative about it, but for me, having done the hCG protocol, I think it was so focused on food.
Oh, okay.
But that was really what it is. You're focusing on what is my body doing. And I think at that time in my life, I just had so much going on, and I just felt. So I lost 6 pounds that first week that I did it, eating, and I do have some wonderful recipes even out of her cookbook or out of her book. But the plan, it really does help you become more aware of what foods do to your body, things that we thought were healthy. I know I can't eat almonds without abandon. I just can't. Even almond flour. I almost always have a gain. And so I'm mindful of that. I wouldn't have thought that.
So was it aimed then at trying to find the foods that cause inflammation and that you're sensitive to?
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
And there was a lot of preparation in there. And for me, it was just like, okay, this is just getting too complicated for what was going on in my life. And I found so many things that I could just Google and food and do. And maybe it was just because it made me work harder. And
but still, it's cool. The premise of it is a good one, like you said.
Absolutely.
Because I have found the same thing. If you can experiment, maybe not necessarily with the exact plan, but just experimenting and trying to discover, like you said, what foods cause gains and inflammation, it really can make long-term maintenance so much easier.
Totally.
Or in some cases, it's like you either won't or you will, based on you finding that out.
Right. And I'm really glad that I did do the plan, and I have it as a resource here. I have a lot of books as resources. And so, I share it with some of my friends, if they're asking me if they're not feeling well or whatever. And I've kind of come in my circles as kind of go-to gal for some ideas. And, I really don't have any background other than just learning and reading and doing it and reading and learning and doing it again.
Well, that's the cool thing about having the passion for it, because it makes you learn so much because you have that driving passion. So that's so cool. That's cool. I wanted to ask you about your P2s when you were on phase 2. In general, what did you do? Did you stick fairly closely to the protocol, or did you do kind of your own thing? How did you end up doing it?
Sure. For the most part of my P2s, I stayed to protocol. Like the American Skinny Drops has a wonderful little 30-day food.
Like a menu plan or something?
Yes.
Okay.
And cool. That is always my go-to. It was just easy. It just, I didn't stay, I always kind of put my toe right up to the line and always saw how close I could get to it without going over. So I would mix and match the different menus and that sort of thing. But pretty much I used that. And then I would Google for recipes and I found some wonderful things and a lot of go-to things that I stayed with and used. But for the most part, I was remembering my first protocol that I was almost perfect on the first 40 days because I did not have any clue what this was and was this even good.
Right.
And my cheat, when I felt like my name is Carma, I cheated today. I had celery with peanut butter. And I laughed about that, but it was just something that my body apparently was craving, and I can still remember the day, and that would have been in 2010. I still remember eating it. And but for the most part, I tried to stay really strong to protocol, and I tried to do protocol correctly. I learned every round was totally different. having done 8 rounds now over the course of 4 years, they're just all different.
Right, that's true.
Because our bodies, we're aging, and the thing I've learned too is after losing a lot of fat, that our hormones change with that, and so what worked before may not be working this time, and we just don't stay the same every day, or definitely not every year.
Yeah, I know, and it's good that you mentioned that too, because it's true. Sometimes I do get emails from people who are frustrated, yeah, because they're saying that's not what happened last round, and same thing for me. I've just it can totally change, yeah, from round to round. Like you said, you have less fat some rounds, or maybe you even regained weight, but the fat you have now is not the same fat you had
It's
2 years
not.
ago, and it might have a different amount of toxins in it, and so there, yeah, so many factors.
And I think that's why it's really important for someone who's doing the protocol to read what others. I mean, we all can say something that can help somebody, but we also can say something like, well, that's not right.
Right.
And so you just have to take each thing that you hear.
Right.
And I always say, what does it feel like in your gut? Does it feel good? Because sometimes, and this can be literally and figuratively, sometimes it doesn't feel good in our gut. And we're like, okay, there's a little problem with that food.
Yeah.
And I'm not too sure I think I agree with that. And so I just don't take one person's advice. I've read, and I've gleaned a lot. And like I said, I've changed, what we're eating and how we're eating. And it's my next generation. I want my little granddaughters not to have a weight issue like grandma did.
Yeah.
Because grandma was always a heavy child.
Gotcha.
Heavy, all until the perimenopause kicked in, and I gained the majority of my weight in my 40s.
Gotcha. So for you, for your history then, since you mentioned that, you felt you were heavy for most of your life.
Oh, yeah. I weigh less now than I did when I got married.
Wow.
Which I could get into my wedding dress. It would be too big.
That's so cool. And you look so great too, by the way. You look fantastic. So
those pictures were amazingly. It's so funny because you get used to looking at yourself in the mirror. And well, not when of course, getting ready. And going back to find some of those pictures, I did not see myself that heavy.
Yeah.
And they brought tears to my eyes because I just didn't realize I didn't feel that heavy.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I looked, I want to say, that bad.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, Carma, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, like you said, you kind of get used to how you are, and I felt like I had kind of done that too, and I think I saw myself a little differently as well, even though I knew I was overweight. It was like when I go clothes shopping, I said this in another interview the other day, but I would tend to pick clothes that were too small, thinking they would fit, and then they wouldn't fit, and it was like and I did it all the time. Like I would, like, I think this is about the size I am, and then it wasn't. So
See, I'm just the opposite of that because I'm going, I don't think I can get in those. And I get them on and I stand there and I look in the mirror and I'm going, and you actually zip them up and you didn't have to suck it in.
yeah, now, right? Yeah.
So, and even now, when I've been heavy for so many years in my life, to look at some of my pictures,
Yeah.
is that really me? And that's where, you can lose the body, but there's still a lot of head issues that you have to deal with.
Right.
And that's where weight loss apocalypse came in on that area to help with some of those. It's a process. When you lose 80 to 90 pounds, you change who you look like, but you also change, because my thing is, well, if I never lose weight, are people still going to love me?
Yeah.
Because my mom's died, and there's a person in my family says, oh, your mom will be so proud of me. And I'm going, well, wouldn't she be proud of me if I still weighed that much?
Right.
But it's just how people's perceptions of you change when you lose weight, because they're used to seeing me always. I was the heaviest sister. I was always just the heaviest. That's just Carma.
Gotcha.
And now I'm just average. And it's so some days it's okay to be average in.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's cool. Can you share a little bit more about that? Like what you said with, the Weight Loss Apocalypse book helping the mental aspect? Like what were some of those changes or difficult things that you had to kind of process, do you think?
Read that last year, and I loved Robin. I watched a lot of her videos, and I think I loved her mostly because she graduated from our local Boise State University.
Oh, cool.
And so I felt, okay, she's a real person, because I know where she went to school.
Yeah.
And I followed a lot of her YouTube videos, and I really learned a lot, along with Lori,
Yeah.
that you've met, that
Right.
has done a lot of videos.
Yeah.
But what she just helped me to realize that it is a process, and not to beat myself up, and that again, the scale is a tool, and to use these tools to help us, not to beat us up. And I just think that book was just really helpful in general. Forgetting that specifically because I've read so many things since
Sure,
then.
yeah. No, I know I've referenced that book so many times on my website too. Like everyone should get this book. So,
It just helps you to realize it's a process.
yeah.
And I think the other thing is, I think this is the thing that frustrates me most about when people talk to me about hCG. They want to lose the weight because they see that I've been successful, but they don't want to do the work.
Gotcha.
They don't want to change the way they eat.
Yeah.
Losing the. I've always heard this, and I know you have too, Rachel. Losing the weight's the easy part. Well, I would say, well, no, not really.
Yeah.
But losing the weight and keeping it off is a twofold. They're both hard.
Exactly.
And they both are constant, something that we have to do in order to keep it off.
Right. Yeah.
Just not go back to the way you would eat and expect to keep the weight off, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's exactly true. Yeah, and that's the story that's being told over and over, by people who are maintaining it, is it has to be a life changer or it'll come back,
It has to be. And I've gotten some books about how people have kept off their weight, and journaling is huge,
Yeah.
and weighing is huge. It's just a monitoring. You're just monitoring your weight.
Yeah.
But it helps to see patterns when you journal.
Yeah. Go ahead and talk about the journaling thing.
The journaling has helped me to see what foods affect me. I write down what's affected me. My weighing daily helps to see, okay, there's a pattern, okay, I'm menopausal, because that adds a whole nother dynamic into our weight loss.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have a period here. We don't have any periods now, but we still are cycling. Okay, but we may not cycle every 28 days. We might cycle every 38 or 45. You're like, or every 20 or 10.
So confusing.
And I've been dealing with that even this week.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah.
So you'd asked me about my progesterone. I've been doing bioidentical hormones since I was in my early 40s.
Okay.
And recently I've even increased that because I think that I have been actually just under where I should be, and it's just kind of kept me in this low phase that it's not getting me over the hump, so to speak. So I've increased it under my doctor's recommendation, and I'm hoping that will make a difference. Because I do have another friend who got her hormones in corrected, and she dropped 26 pounds.
Wow.
I have never had that experience.
Wow, yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, I know there's something with this hormone thing.
Yeah.
Again, it's still a process of learning.
Right.
I'm learning about, as you asked about the foods, what foods will affect our hormones. I didn't even realize that they did that.
Yeah.
Increasing my vitamin D has helped immensely with my health, as far as my husband's been sick. With just the influenza and all of that, and a lot of people, and by the grace of God, I've not been sick at all.
Cool.
And so, this is a side note that you'll appreciate.
Yeah.
I just had all my lab work done, and my doctor she gave me an A+ on my lab.
Cool.
Triglycerides were 35, and she's a very fit gal. She goes, I've never been able to get my triglycerides down that. No.
Oh, wow.
Even though I'm in medicine, I'm a medical receptionist, I still don't know what all of those means other than it was okay.
It was good. Awesome. That's great.
My HDL was 79, and my vitamin D levels were 84.
Oh, that's good.
I'm almost in the optimal range. And she goes, whatever you are doing, Carma, whatever you're eating, keep it up because it's worth.
That is great.
And so my LDLs were a little elevated, but she goes, everything else is so good that she goes, I'm not even concerned about those.
That's
great. And so that was actually a confirmation of what I've been reading, what I've been eating, how I've been weighing, and the numbers by the medical standards are showing if this is a good thing for me.
Yeah, that is so fantastic. Yeah, and that's the real proof in the pudding is those testing results, you
Right,
know.
and I have my doc's, she's just wonderful and so understanding and on board with, she's familiar with the hCG protocol. Sometimes you talk to doctors and they look at you like you're
Right.
nuts
Yeah.
and freaks out about the 500 calories and you're like, oh gracious.
Yeah.
You know, and you, if someone doesn't want to really know or learn, they're not going to listen to what you're saying. I'm just like, okay, it doesn't work. Well, okay, right. I can tell you, I'm 80 pounds, and I've now had it off for pretty much just 2 years. So
Yeah.
you can believe what you want.
Yeah, but I'm gonna go live my happy little life.
Start at 12, and I'll be happy.
Yeah. That's so funny. Cool, cool. Let me see, where am I now? Okay, so you've talked about that. I mean, you've really made some big changes with how you eat, and you've talked a little bit about that already with how you've replaced and changed, and you still want food to be good. So tell me, like, what types of foods you eat now in everyday life. Like, what do you eat? What don't you eat?
Well, it is simply, what am I hungry for? I go and I Google it, and I add paleo or primal or low carb,
Okay.
and whatever pops up, then I read the reviews. I'm going, I'm going to try that. For instance, we lived in England, and we like toad in the hole, which is
Oh,
a really strange little English dish.
okay.
It's basically sausage and eggs.
Okay.
And I was just hungry for that. So I Googled that. And last night I made and really in reality, it's just like a broccoli sausage quiche or frittata, whichever. And so I made that. And I just discovered nutritional yeast to use. I still use a lot of dairy, particularly like cream in my coffee. And
Yeah.
I don't eat a lot of dairy, like a lot of cheese. I do get gains. I'll react.
With too much. Okay.
Too much cheese.
Sure.
So I don't eat a lot of cheese, though I love it.
Yeah.
And I don't eat obviously any ice cream, though I love it. So I'm waiting for summer to try some of these new recipes I found because there are some people out there that have just done amazing things with recipes. And so I just Google and I find what I'm eating or what I'm hungry for, and then I just go cook it.
Great.
And 9 times out of 10, they're pretty straightforward. Again, those bacon burgers that we had the other night with mushrooms, they were in, I'll put a little plug for Against All Grain. That is my new go-to cookbook.
Cool.
And I just love the recipes. And my husband said this was a keeper, a wonderful barbecue sauce.
Awesome.
And so I just, I used to always love just to try new recipes. And you always have your go-to stuff.
Yeah.
But, now there's just so many. Yeah, I even still have some hCG taco soup recipes that were chicken taco or chicken tortilla soup.
Yeah.
And it's just a good soup. It's just good.
Yeah.
And we still saute cabbage because it's just good.
Yeah.
We still have baked Brussels sprouts. When I learned you could cook with coconut oil, even on the hCG diet,
Yeah.
I, do my Brussels sprouts, saute my cabbage. That did make a big difference in how things tasted.
Cool.
But, we eat a lot of spinach, we eat a lot of lettuce, romaine. I'm learning butter lettuce.
Yeah.
I've learned about Chang's chicken lettuce wraps that are just like my diet.
Cool.
Oh, yummy, yummy, yummy.
Yeah.
And so I've learned how to cook those. In fact, I've shared with you that I do now a cooking with Carma, or cooking at Carma's, I guess.
Right.
My gals reach out from my church, and we once a month I get together and I'm kind of introducing them because some of them have asked, what do you eat, how do you eat, blah blah blah, to keep your weight down. And so I just started sharing it because people want to try different things, but they really don't want to go out and buy a whole bag of coconut flour, or a whole bag of erythritol, or a whole bag of almond flour, or any of these things. And so what I do is I just share the recipes that I've used.
Yeah.
Some gals come in and they have had food issues already. They're either celiac disease or a spouses or something where they have to change what they're cooking. And so, like Saturday, I'm going to have Chinese food because we all love Chinese food, but always, when you go out, there's between MSG and who knows what else, there's a significant weight gain the next day.
Right.
So my go-to food is cauliflower. I love cauliflower. It is just
it's so versatile, huh?
Oh my gosh, my rice cauliflower, or I make chicken fried rice, or I think I'm gonna make a pork fried rice. Oh, delicious,
Cool.
delicious. And even my son, I took it over to the kids' house after they had the baby, and they were going, "Well, Mom, this was good. This was really,
Cool.
really good." And I
Awesome.
made a beef bulgogi. We lived in Korea, so I made a beef bulgogi. But
Cool.
and that one's already primal friendly, and
Cool.
I didn't even know primal friendly existed when I first cooked it.
Yeah.
But it's a beef barbecue, and it's just so delicious, and it has
Awesome.
so much flavor in it. So I sauteed that with the new kale bag of kale I got at Costco, with kale and Brussels sprouts and onions and carrots and some other things in there, and it just made a delicious beef broccoli dish.
Awesome.
And so just finding new things. I found a lot of baked things that I love. They're just delicious. Coconut flour, I like it a lot better than almond flour. At least it seems to react better. And I think things are
Cool.
just a little bit moister with it.
Sure.
And the Against All Grains has a great bread recipe that I just not had an opportunity to try yet, which
Oh,
I'm really looking forward to it. But
yeah.
just I eat normal. I
Yeah.
just don't eat grains. I
Yeah.
don't eat beans for the most part, and I don't eat a lot of dairy.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool.
so
Yeah, that's really helpful. And
the
you
one
mentioned a few tools that you use too. What are some of those little tools that you use, like different machines
Well,
or?
it's from Googling, and people tell me these wonderful little things. And so for Christmas, I asked for I guess it's called a spiraline,
The
but it's a
spiralizer thing? Yeah. Yeah, I have that too.
and that has been wonderful to. I made a sweet potato noodle, and that was really interesting. I didn't have a game the next day. I was concerned about the sweet
Cool.
potato. That was great, and it was just
Cool.
sometimes your brain needs to see that is a noodle. It may
Yeah.
not be a noodle, but it looks like
Yeah.
a noodle, and my
Yeah.
brain says that's okay.
And the texture's there, it's
Yeah.
for anyone who doesn't know, there's this little thing you can call like a spiralizer. You can find it like on Amazon, and yeah, it takes like almost any vegetable and turns it into noodles. I mean, it's totally awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or even, it's a multi-slicer actually.
Yeah.
It's taken, I made cucumber rings and
Cool.
onions in a vinaigrette.
Cool.
That's a little German cucumber salad, because we love ethnic foods.
Yeah.
Being all over, have traveled in the military all over the world. We just love foods.
Yeah.
And music are the two things that I love when I go somewhere.
Cool.
And so, I learned to cook those things. I love German food. So, I've taken and now I can't say I've done this yet, though I did do it on the protocol, the Melba toast, and made a chicken cutlet. And
Mm.
then you sprinkle just some lemon juice on top of that, and then add your cucumber salad. In
Mm.
Germany, that is a veal cutlet, which is called schnitzel.
Mm.
And
Okay.
so I had schnitzel, and
Cool.
but it was amazing. Well, now my niece did it with Parmesan cheese,
Mm.
and yeah, yummy.
That sounds
And
good.
so I discovered a little chicken nuggets that I want to make healthy for my granddaughters, and so it's
Cool.
just I love experimenting, and I love trying new things, and I love to share them. If anybody's interested, they come. If they're not interested, obviously they don't. So
Yeah, that's great.
yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, you want to? I'm just thought of something else.
Oh, sure,
I
go ahead.
I use my Vitamix a lot. In
Mm.
fact, that is how I now do my cauliflower. It is a breeze. You just chop it up in
Okay.
smaller chunks, and in less than 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, I can have a whole head of cauliflower ready for my cauliflower rice.
Cool.
And
So you just
so,
stick it all in there and blender it up, and it
just,
gets a little.
not in smaller chunks. Yes, the
Yeah.
smaller you do, then the less extra work you have to do.
Okay.
But yeah, I just love my Vitamix for mixing wonderful creamy soups. You just cannot get it any
So what
better than.
else? So tell us what you would do then, like to make a creamy soup
Oh,
in there.
well, the Vitamix comes with its own little cookbook that you
Right.
could make wonderful little soups in, and you can actually heat the soup up in the Vitamix.
Yeah.
But normally I don't do that. But I'll take asparagus, and I'll put them on my grill, and on my little I can't remember. I can see it. Can't remember what it's called. Just a grill, my little counter grill.
Okay.
And I sear them, so that brings out the flavor in the asparagus.
Mhm.
And then I throw that in my Vitamix. I'll do the same with my onions and throw that in there, and then I'll just whip them all up. Then I add a little bit of rosemary spice, and
Mm.
maybe a tablespoon of coconut milk now instead of cream.
Oh, that sounds so
Oh
good.
my gosh, asparagus soup is phenomenal.
Wow, that sounds
And
really good.
then cream up. And you can do that with basically any of your your vegetables that you want to make a lovely soup.
And I love
And
that idea of like grilling them first and then.
oh, it does change. It changes the looks and because they get that beautiful green.
Yeah.
But it just brings out the sweetness of the flavor. That's why I think I love my Brussels sprouts in the oven, obviously even more so than steam.
Yeah.
Because they just
Like
that
the
crispy
caramelization.
I love the crispy on the outside and tender on the inside.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like, guys, Brussels sprouts are good.
Really? They're good. It probably, yeah. Oh, cool, cool, good, good.
That's what my son said. He goes, Mom, if we've learned nothing else from hCG, we love Brussels sprouts.
It's a good lesson. You mentioned that your body retains water fairly easily. When we were talking, that's what it seemed like. I wanted you to just tell me about that for everyone else to hear.
Most all of us know what that means.
Well, you seem to retain more than the average person, though, from like, so I wanted you to share that.
Well, I'm thinking if I do, and of course it just depends upon sometimes of the month.
Yeah, but like, yeah, so like a certain time of the month, or like if you ate something.
Oh well, like when I did the 15 or the 10% when I said I try to eat 90% well all the time. I went to the movies and I was kind of doing an experiment.
Yeah.
I call any time when I eat off of protocol. I don't want to go and call use it off that, but
Yeah.
when I had popcorn at the movies, I had a huge gain for the water retention the next day.
Yeah.
Now I know that when I go and have popcorn, that's the consequences.
You said it was like 4 pounds or something, right?
It was 4 pounds for popcorn, and it just was. And so the next day, of course, I just increase my water, and I usually do a protein day, or just to get back down in that window.
And does that do that? Does the correction do that?
Even this week, like I said, I had gone up to 167.4, and I'm like, I don't want to be, because in my opinion, if you don't correct it when it's down here, when it's 4 or 5 pounds, you're going to have 15 pounds, and you have to do another protocol. And with no offense, I don't want to do another protocol.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, and this is kind of a side note, in order to do hCG, you have to be ready in your mind.
Right.
You can't just do it and just say, well, I'm just going to. I've talked to too many people who just haphazardly do the protocol, and then they don't either keep it off or they don't have success, and you're just like, it is very, very specific. That's the side of Robin's book. It is a specific protocol. That's what I want to tell you about that.
Yeah.
When she said it was a specific protocol, it wasn't, the HC is pretty much not a diet, it is a protocol. And I always tell people when you have to be on a course of antibiotics for, say, 14 days before they came out with the new shorter term ones, that you have to take them for 14 days and you have to do what they say to do. That is the same way with the hCG. When you do the hCG protocol, you have to do the way it says to do it. Yeah. And the more you are compliant with that, the better results you will have, the better your body will respond, and the better you will keep it the weight off. And I think that was one of her big factors that really was kind of over and over again. She says, this is a protocol. This is meant to be done this way.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's a really good note. But
yeah, no, I totally agree. In fact, I think the only round that I had that didn't turn out well, that I cheated a lot on and then gained all the weight back, was my second round, and that was the only round that I didn't plan ahead. Yeah, it was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna start round 2, and I didn't think about it much, and so as a result, I really wasn't ready, and it was a disaster.
Don't you think it just becomes a total challenge? The whole thing is a challenge, and you're just like, you're fighting. Well, and as I told you, this is what happened when I started my third round. My mom had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer right after my second round. And I thought that, and then my mom died shortly 2 months, in short 2 months. And psychologically, that hit us from out of the blue. Yeah. And it was extremely difficult time for us, and continues to be to some extent. Right. And so I thought right after she died that I would try my third protocol. That was a disaster. I think it was like 11 days into it. I'm going, I can't do this. Right. I just can't get my head around. I I don't care about food. I don't
Right.
care.
I don't care right now.
And,
Yeah.
no, and so I just stopped it, and
Yeah.
I did a short little P3 type of a thing, and
Yeah.
it wasn't until January of the next year and that happened in October. So give myself some
Right.
time to grieve and get ready to do it again. Because
Yeah.
then when I was ready to do it again, it gave me a focus of something that I could do about
I
the
see.
way things seem to be out of control.
Right. And so then it was
And
like a good thing by that point.
it was, and then it seemed I lost 20 pounds that year, and then I lost 20 pounds the next year, and then now it's this perpetual little 10 pounds, 10 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a good and it's good actually that you realized that that wasn't a good time that particular round and got off because sometimes that happens. Like you said, you start something and then you realize like this is just not working right now, and instead of like trying to still do it and then just cheating and kind of hurting your body, which sometimes is what happens with people, there's no shame like you did in just stopping early, you know?
Yeah.
So
And I think it's really the better thing to do then.
it is.
Continually to do the hCG and really
Yeah.
not
Right.
follow it.
Because it does hurt, like you said, it's a protocol. It affects your hormones. So when you do all of that cheating on it, you actually are hurting your body.
I think so as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. So that's a good example. And I tell people that all the time. Like, don't feel bad or guilty that it's a bad time. Just own it. Like, you know what? I can't do this right now. And stop and wait till
it is
later.
what it is. And, I have a friend who taught us when we were in Israel. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
so, sometimes that's just life.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think you've got to be, in order for it to be the most successful, your head has really got to be in it.
Right.
It's that way with anything. Sometimes you want to go, duh, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you prepare and plan and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do for whether you choose 21 days or 31 days or 40 days, whatever a person chooses,
Yeah.
this is what I'm going to do. And, sometimes now when I'm going to do an experiment, like I said,
Yeah.
I'm going to try this for a couple of days up to a week to see what happens.
Yeah.
Something happened in January when I was telling you where I got down to 160.2. I look back there and I keep reading. I still don't know what I did. So
Yeah.
that was kind of frustrating, but obviously I was doing something.
Yeah.
And I've gotten back down now to, I think the lowest I've gotten is like 164 or whatever. But I just always float right back to that 164, 166.
Yeah.
You know,
So your body's kind of stable there, and you occasionally try to get it lower, but it's kind of stable there.
I think menopausal women have a little grace in that area.
Yeah, no, I think that's great.
More, so I am normal again.
Yeah, exactly. I think
So
that's the thing too, is like, like you said, there's just some points in life where it's like you're like, okay, I don't need to look like a model. I just want to feel good in my body and be like you said, average and normal, and that's okay. Like happy with that.
it looks nice when I go out. I mean,
Yeah,
all of us, it's not very pretty underneath the clothes, but I think it's clean up okay.
I think you look great. Yeah, so yeah, because some people you could possibly take hCG like super far, but sometime, I just want to share this little story. At CrossFit, there's this woman who um, she used to compete in like those fitness weightlifting
Mhm,
competitions,
mhm.
and she said she doesn't do it anymore because in order to could do that, you have to get super lean. Like you have to get your body fat percent down really low. And even though she would look great, she said she was miserable.
Yes.
Like she felt crappy, she felt tired. She didn't feel good. So it wasn't worth looking like that all the time because of how she had to feel to look that way. So
Right. My
she's
younger
much
son did.
happier being a little higher.
My younger son did a competition like that back in 2000. I think in 2006 or seven. I don't remember.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And he's 6'2" and he's a pretty burly guy.
Yeah.
And he got down to 160, and we're just like, oh
Wow.
gosh,
Wow.
my gosh.
Yeah.
But he looked skinny,
Hmm.
and it was really difficult. And
Yeah.
he says, I don't want to ever do that again. He goes, that
Mm.
just, though it was fun to compete,
Sure.
he's a lot, actually, he's a lot more buff now, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
A lot more arm strength and a lot more, but
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes obsessive.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I learned with hCG, too, it can also be a little addictive.
Mm-hmm.
Too, that, that, okay, that's my go-to when I,
Right.
get 5, 8, 10 pounds over. And I'm going,
Right.
no,
Yeah.
if somebody asks me, what do you think? I say, no, I think you just need to start
Right.
eating healthier again.
Right.
But we've gotten way too lax in eating sugars. In fact, I have a friend, and she had just said that very thing. She goes, Girl Scout cookies, delicious.
Yeah.
She goes, we bought some, and she goes, what we should have done is donated the money and said, keep your cookies.
Yeah. Really.
Because now she's doing another round of hCG, and
Yeah.
it's just because she said it just started this cycle again. She goes, I was purged of sugar. She goes,
Mm.
I just have such a horrible sugar addiction, and you
Yeah.
just, to some extent, it's like an alcoholic, or
Right.
you just can't have that first bite.
It's so true. I actually just did an interview with another gal, and it was all about sugar addiction and how she got off of it because I've gotten off of it. And yeah, I mean, that it is true. It's a real addiction, and it's something, and like, as she mentioned, and when you talk about things, it's like we still have to eat. It's like with drugs or, alcohol, you can completely abstain from it, but we still have to eat food every day and make choices every single day. So,
It's daily.
yeah,
It's a daily choice.
yeah.
I just discovered another gal, and she goes, I don't do a lot of advanced planning, and I like to have some ideas of what I'm going to cook, so I make sure I have those foods available.
Yeah.
But sometimes we can go in our pantry and say, I've got this, I've got this. What can I come up with that is still going to be healthy and
Right.
still going to taste good, and it's not going to break the budget, and my husband will be happy,
Yeah.
and we'll be satisfied, because I think sometimes when the foods that we cook, if they don't satisfy us, when you're done with your meal, you're like, okay, I'm still hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're hungry because you didn't really get that part of whatever you were needing
Yeah.
satisfied, so to speak.
Right. So it's like even though physically you're technically full, it's like mentally you're still
Exactly.
wanting. Yeah.
Exactly. And so,
Yeah.
that's where I really have discovered with my recipes. I don't know what I would do without it. I could probably survive without my cookbooks now. I'm looking at them.
Yeah.
Because I just, I love to go to the author sites.
Yeah.
They offer so much free stuff. Oh,
Right.
that was one of the other sources that I use is my Kindle.
Cool.
So many of the cookbooks are offered at free rates or
Awesome.
99-cent rates. And I
Awesome.
found some wonderful little, 50, 75-page cookbooks.
Cool.
Some great recipes in there,
That's
bread
great.
recipes.
Great.
So,
And there's even, I think, for people like with has like an iPad or whatever, they have like a Kindle Reader app, I think, that we can
yeah,
download. So you could even get those on any other tablet. Cool.
right. I'm not very techy when
Yeah,
I'm
I'm not
about.
either. I've just learned a few little things, but cool, cool, awesome. Yeah, that's great. And I like what you said too about trying not to use hCG as a crutch. I made a post actually a while back called like five ways to lose weight without hCG, and it's something that I've used myself because yeah, anywhere like you said, if you're using the scale as a tool, you can catch something in the 5 to 8 pound range, and you can fix that on your own often. And to me, I agree. The protocol is difficult, and you have to commit yourself to like 6 to 9 weeks of a very controlled environment. And if I can avoid that, I'm going to, and so you really can't catch it. But like you said, if you let it get too far, 15, 20, then you do have to do another round, but it's avoidable.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I just think it's just easier. I mean, it's funner because then that way you can try new recipes, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to worry about, is this going to, I mean, by this time you kind of know what's going to cause a reaction. So if you're going to have one, you're going to have a consequence.
Yeah,
And even as adults, we still have consequences to our choices.
yeah,
And I don't want to weigh 250 pounds again. I
yeah,
don't even want to weigh 200, and I don't even want to weigh 175.
yeah.
I want to stay,
Where you are.
ideally, I mean, I think it's that, I guess what we always learn is always 10 pounds more, 10 pounds more.
Yeah,
But this is just something, because I struggle with my weight. I went to Weight Watchers many, many, many moons, probably in the early 90s. And
yeah.
they told me that my ideal was my max is 147.
Oh,
I always have been wanting that in the back of my mind to hit that just once so I
yeah.
could go, I made it.
I did it.
But,
One day.
I wasn't 56 yet. And,
Yeah.
because we were in our 30s, and I think that's the other thing I've learned. What used to be able to be so simple in our 30s, when you're in your 50s, it's not as simple anymore.
Yeah.
Things, most menopausal women, you can tell us because we've got this big belly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on there? So I'm learning more. It has to do with hormones.
Yeah.
And now, is it also reaction to some of the grains that we're eating, to the dairy we're eating? So, it's a perpetual learning phase. And I think when we stop learning, we'll just basically float right back to where we were if we stop learning, stop paying attention, and stop being mindful. And that's pretty much what, I guess, in a nutshell. I'm mindful of what I eat. I continually learn. I try new recipes. I've got those that are good go-to recipes that I know I don't want to eat, but I know that's good.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. And I just keep doing that every day.
Yeah, that's so great. And it really is working for you. And what's neat about it is that you make corrections and you adapt when necessary, because I mean, probably the vast majority of the women that I interviewed so far are in menopause, actually. And they all have the same story. Yeah, that it's because I'm not there, but
Hey,
yeah, that gaining, yeah, but that maintaining weight, or gaining weight, or losing weight is so much harder in that phase of life. And so I totally believe that, and I respect that. And so I think it's awesome that, yeah, you work with it, because that's what you have to do. And you make it work, and you correct when you need to. And yeah, that's really cool.
just, can be mindful and realizing, okay, I have to be really, I don't want to really say good or bad, but I have to be mindful today of what I'm going to eat. And so that's when I know that I'm up, like when I was up on Monday,
Yeah.
I was up where I don't want to be really over, I don't even want to be over 165.
Yeah.
And is it a scale? That's not the right word I'm going to say. That's just the number I put.
Sure.
That's
Like your
my
cutoff point.
That's my marker.
Yeah.
And so I might let myself float up to 166, which is today,
Mm-hmm.
but I will be very mindful of what I eat today.
Yeah. And that's helpful. That's how you keep things in check, right? Because it's not like it's actually that hard to eat clean, but it's also nice to have days where you can be more free. Like you said, you have a percentage where you eat clean, and then a small percentage where you might kind of be free.
Yeah.
And that's what helps you when you have that cutoff point, right? Because then like, okay, is today a clean day, or is today a be slightly freer day?
Yeah.
So.
And in the freer, and I think it's again on one of the sites that I read, is you cannot have, even with wonderful paleo desserts, you shouldn't have one at every meal.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't even need one every day.
Right. Yeah.
And and to kind of save it for the weekends, or whatever a person chooses to do,
Sure.
whatever works for them.
Yeah.
And I find that when there was one weekend when I did, hey, and everything was all grain free, but I had crackers and I had wonderful flax, the 90-second flax mug cake.
Cool.
And I made lemon chias from Slim Palette. Oh, that young man, he's got the best recipes on his.
Cool. What was that one again?
Slim Palette.
Slim Palette. Cool. We're going to have links, by the way, everybody, to this different resources that she uses and loves for you guys.
Well, I just love his story. He's lost 100 pounds. He's 18 years old, and he just loves to cook.
Awesome.
And so I've gotten a lemon chia cake off of his site.
That sounds good.
Wonderful recipes. But I ate all of those one day. And the next day I had I think it was 2 or 3 pound gain. I'm going, okay, it's just like all things. You eat too much of it, you're still going to have a gain. And I think, too, I had not been drinking enough water. I think that's the other thing that you talked about water retention. When I really don't drink enough water, I have a half-gallon pitcher on my counter, and I fill it up. And the days I fill it up, I usually have a great day. It keeps my cravings away. It keeps me satisfied. I try to go grab a drink of water. I'm trying to be more mindful of when I'm hungry. Go get a drink of water first and see if you're still hungry 10, 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
And so just being more mindful instead of just letting life, so much of our life seems out of control.
Right.
And, if we just float along and just let life happen as it can, that's how we end up being 40, 50, 70, 100 pounds overweight, because we just did what we always did.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right. Yeah. You know what I like about your story and how you do things is that you're real. So it's like you realize that food needs to taste good. You're real. Well, it's just you realize food needs to taste good in order to do it long term. And also you realize that you're not gonna never eat any extra or never eat anything that's a dessert or forever. It's like you have days that you eat more freely and then you correct when necessary. And I think that's just real. I think that's just how a real person is going to be able to do this long term. So Tell me about what specific correction methods that you like to use when you do maybe have a day where it's kind of a higher calorie or slightly overboard day. What are those specific ways you like to correct things?
Well, Monday, what I corrected on Monday after my weekend, because I was had a great weekend, and then whatever I had, I was up 2.5 pounds on I was over 2.5 pounds on Monday.
Okay.
And so I started with 2 to 3 eggs, and I think I scrambled them on that morning. And I think I even added some sauteed Brussels sprouts that I had sliced. And so that's what I had. And then for lunch, I had 2 or 3 eggs again. And I had some tuna, and I made a tuna. I think maybe I had 2 eggs and some tuna, and I made a tuna salad. And I had that on some romaine lettuce. And then for dinner, that's when I made the bacon burgers. And so I just, I had a beef burger. I think it was about 4 ounces that I had cooked. And then I increased my water. I drank a lot of water that day. I do use dandelion. I love dandelion tea. And that's great for fleshing out your body.
Cool.
Or sometimes I use the detox tea, but I really prefer the dandelion.
So the dandelion helps with water.
Yes.
And
yes, a lot. And I usually try to have that in the morning and maybe once before I go to bed.
Cool.
Just remember the real important thing that I really know this is huge, not to eat after 7:30. I try to have my meals. Ideally, I like to have them between 5:30 and 6:30.
Okay.
But my husband often doesn't get home until 6 o'clock. So
Gotcha.
so that part of prep has to come in that I need to have things ready to eat by 6.
Gotcha.
The more, and what I've been reading, the more that we eat, and it just kind of sets there. And even last night, I had a really clean day yesterday,
Yeah.
but I had my delicious, all good lemon chia cake, but I ate that up until 10 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
And I was up a half a pound this morning.
Yeah.
And normally it just stays with some of that water retention, whatever, but I know that was a reaction to eating after 7:30.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I think that's huge. Even straight not eating clean, just period. Don't eat after 7:30. And so that's what I do, and I had a 2-pound loss on Wednesday morning.
So it's basically like a protein and veggies and low carb, and you leave everything else out when you do that.
Proteins and very limited vegetables. And again,
Gotcha.
I got that from the American Skinny Drop site,
Cool.
which they would do their egg protein day. And I've done just egg days, but I just had eggs all day, and I've done as many as like 11 eggs, I think. Every which way you could think to have eggs.
Yeah.
But this way, adding just protein and again increasing my water, I was very pleased with the 2 pounds.
Cool, cool. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that, and thanks so much for sharing all of this today. I think,
That's my pleasure. I love to share what I learn, and people can take it for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, it's great.
And that's why I do it with the gals at my church and with my sisters. I just love to share. So
yeah, it's so helpful, because just like you said, you've learned so much from the different sites you've gone to and the books you've read. Yeah, same thing for everyone else. It's like so much change. It can be overwhelming at times, like where to begin or yeah, and so these help give us ideas, I think.
And again, that's why I love we live in such a really great time right now because primal paleo eating. I am not paleo because I'm not that extreme.
Yeah.
And I probably lean more the primal low carb because I do use some sugar alternatives.
Sure.
Because I find some sugars, I can't do the maple syrup, always have a gain, but honey seems to be okay.
Oh,
and
interesting.
erythritol seems to be okay. And I love Easy Sweets that I get off of Amazon it's the liquid sucralose. So, I find these things, but these cookbooks they give you ideas and you're like, this is doable.
Yeah.
I can do this. I can live like this. That's good. Good food's good food no matter if it's primal, paleo, low carb, or regular.
If it tastes good, that's all your tongue knows, your taste buds know. Cool. Well, thank you for all of that.
You're welcome.